talking about journeys, destinations, culture, adventure, gear, conservation, and all the things we haven't yet thought of. This episode is brought to you by Sunwear Solar Technology, a premium manufacturer of fixed and portable solar panels for overlanding vehicles and marine applications. Designed and manufactured in Germany, Sunwear panels are tested under the harshest environmental conditions to ensure rugged reliability for years to come. Trust Sunwear for your solar energy needs, no matter where your adventures take you. Check out their website at sunwear.solar. You'll find the link in the description below. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. The summer break is over and we're back. We've been travelling, working on the cars, writing and recording, which means we've got a ton of new stories lined up for you over the next few months. I must say, it feels really good to have all the ducks in a row. But now, let's jump into the latest episode of the At Overland Europe podcast. Today's guest sums up her philosophy in one line. I've found that all I need in life is the right attitude and what can be comfortably carried on a Royal Enfield. After raising a family and working as a nurse and health visitor, Jacqui Furneaux packed a bag in 1998 and set off solo for the first time in her life. What began as a one-year journey became something much bigger. Southeast Asia, Pakistan and India lit the spark, and with the dawn of the new millennium, she swapped her backpack for road maps and, for her 50th birthday, bought a Royal Enfield Bullet in India. With no plan, no grand design, just the right attitude, Jacqui rode off. 20 countries and countless stories later, she's still proving that the best adventures often begin when you don't overthink them. Jacqui, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Mike. It's very nice to be chatting with you.
It is indeed. We've spoken on the phone a couple of times and we swapped emails. And I've just started reading your latest edition of your book.
Have you? That's nice.
Sank my teeth into that today. So I'm looking forward to the rest of it now.
Good. I hope you enjoy it.
I will. Anyway, let's begin as far back as you dare go. How did you get into motorcycling and how did you get into your, 7-year trip, wasn't it?
Yes. How did I get into motorcycling? Well, I'm old enough to remember the hot summer of 1976. Here in the UK, it was a really hot, long, dry summer. And we were all gasping for air and praying for rain. And I was a young mother at the time with 2 small children under 3 and trying to keep everybody cool in a little plastic paddling pool in the back garden. And my then husband came home from work and found me sort of languishing. And he said, well, why don't you have whiz around the local streets on the motorbike? Because he was using a little Honda step-through to get to and from the city centre from where we were living in the suburbs outside Bristol. And I was a nurse. I was working nights and I'd been working at on the casualty unit. I'd seen people being brought in by the ambulance crews with broken heads and broken limbs. And I said, I'm not getting on that. No, they're nasty, dangerous, oily, smelly things. No, I won't. But anyway, he persuaded me in the end. I said, well, okay, how do you make it go? And it was a twist grip go and just one foot brake. And so he said, off you go then. And I think it was in the days before you had to have a bike license. I think we stuck a nail plate on the back. And so off I went around the streets of the suburbs of Bristol. And it took about half an hour, 40 minutes. And that was it. I was hooked. And I've had a motorbike more or less ever since then. So that's what started me off. And as for starting off the 7-year journey, well, that was an accident, a chance meeting with a Dutchman I met whilst I was backpacking in India. My marriage was at an end and I took myself off to Asia for some backpacking, and I was all prepared to go on a camel safari in Jaisalmer. And I had some brochures with me and I thought I'll look over these during lunch. And I went into a restaurant outside the city because it's a city in the desert, and I thought I'll go outside of the touristy areas with these brochures. So that's what I did. And as I was walking into the restaurant, I saw this funny-looking motorbike parked outside, and I'd seen somebody get off it. It was a big bloke with ginger hair. I thought, well, that's unusual. And so in I went, and I looked at the bike, and I got chatting to him. I said, well, what is that motorbike? I haven't seen anything like that. It looks old, and yet not that old. He said, well, it's a Royal Enfield. Come and join me for lunch. So we sat down together, and before I knew it, I was off in the desert with him. Forgot all about the camel ride, and went up on his Enfield. And camped for 3 or 4 days in the desert. And then we parted company. I got back home after a year backpacking, and he found me. He said, oh, I've never been able to forget you. Why don't you buy a motorbike like mine, and we'll travel together in India? So I thought, oh, okay then. Being a spontaneous sort of a person, and he was considerably younger than I was, and very good looking. He was lots of fun, so I didn't think about it for more than a couple of minutes before saying, yes, all right. So that's what I did.
Perfect. But you've been, as you said, you've been riding bikes in the UK then beforehand, hadn't you?
Yes, I'd had a variety of Japanese bikes. We went from the step-through Honda to a 125 that I took my test on in Western-super-Mare.
Right.
Then a CB200, and then a lovely Honda 404.
Ooh, nice.
And then I had a Suzuki. Yeah, I know. Wish we still had it. Wish I still had that one. And then a Suzuki Slingshot 500 GS 500E. And then the Enfield. I didn't know what I was taking on.
That's a step back in history, isn't it? In comparison.
Yes, but
because the Enfield, I mean, it's a very, very, let's say, compared to the modern bikes, very rudimentary.
Extremely, which is what makes it so good for travelling, because you don't have to wait around for spare parts to arrive. The Dutchman and I were in Islamabad on the foreigners' campsite, and there were some German people there, and they were stranded because they were waiting for spare parts to arrive from Germany, whereas we just got the spanners out, did a bit of tinkering, and rode off up the Karakoram Highway. So there's definitely an advantage to having an old motorcycle with, a single cylinder 4-stroke engine that's easily put right, and spare parts can be, well, at that time in India they were very easy to get. A bit more difficult in Pakistan, but then the engineering is so good. You just pop into an engineer's workshop and they'll make you a new whatever it is you need. So very simple mechanics.
Indeed. A big advantage. Did you have much gear in the way of panniers or anything as well, or how did you transport all your kit?
I bought a rack for putting some canvas bags in that I brought with me, and one I had made in India that would slot nicely in it, but no aluminium panniers or anything fancy like that. It was all very basic.
I think that's sort of one of the beauties of it, of your trip, is that you did keep everything as simple as possible. And I know we've spoken about this before, but there's always this impression at the moment that everything has to be new and technological and complicated. But for traveling, in reality, it doesn't.
No, the simpler the better, really. And then, I just rock up in a village or something somewhere. And the other thing is that I'm not scary. And I don't think it's just because I'm a woman, because when I was travelling with the Dutchman, whose name is Hendrikus, by the way, we didn't look like we'd just arrived from outer space. We were grubby from the road, and we were just wearing ordinary clothes. We didn't have armoured motorcycle clothing. We just had sturdy jeans, sturdy boots, long sleeve t-shirts, and I always wear fingerless gloves when it's hot. But that's all. So I think we looked quite approachable, and I do find this when I'm travelling now, I try not to look scary.
So, just going back to the trip, how many countries did you actually do in total in the 7 years?
In the 7 years, 20.
Right.
From India. I went east from India, or after exploring Nepal and Pakistan, and then east we shipped over to Thailand and went to Cambodia, Malaysia, and then onwards we split up and I went on through Indonesia to Australia and New Zealand, and then came up through South America, Central America.
Huge trip.
Well, it was, and it just grew. I had absolutely no idea that this was how it was going to be. I thought, well, I am so much older than him, he'll get tired of me after about 6 months, and then I'll come home and be a normal person again. I had a leave from my job for, I think I had a 5-year career break. It was unpaid, but had I wished to, I could have gone back to my job. Then I was a health visitor in Stoke-on-Trent, and they didn't keep the job open. Somebody else had my job, but I would always have a job. But I couldn't go back, not after the experiences I'd had. I went back to visit my ex-colleagues, and I thought, no, not after what I've seen and done. I can't go back.
Yes, that's something I've heard on several occasions, that people who have done long-term travel, reintegration at home is difficult.
Oh gosh, yes. I've spent the whole chapter, the last chapter on settling back in, and how very, very difficult it was, not just for me, but for other people who tried to pin me down to sticking to dates and, would you like to do this next month? I don't know where I'm going to be next month, because I was used to living, minute by minute, not keeping a diary. All I did was I had an atlas, tiny little mini atlas, and I'd see where the countries were and make my way to the next one. Once I'd decided to keep the bike, that happened in Malaysia, I thought, well, I could either leave it here and go home or carry on. And at that point, I decided I loved the bike so much I couldn't possibly leave it. And so I thought, well, I'll just ride it home then. So didn't realise it would take me quite so long, but it was marvellous. But coming home was hard. Waking up in the same place 2 nights in a row or 3 nights in a row was really quite hard.
Yeah, somebody, I think quite aptly put it, that coming home after a long trip was like standing in a railway station and trying to board the train when it rushed by, that your mental speed and how your day progresses is completely different to everybody else around you.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yes, it is a very good way to put it. And it's very difficult to explain to people. People thought I was waiting for a better offer. If I said, I don't know what I'm going to be doing next month. It sounded as if I was hedging my bets, just in case somebody said, would you like to go to Timbuktu? It was very hard for everybody, but it was nice to be home, to meet my granddaughter for one thing.
Oh, wow.
And to be with my daughter when she had my grandson as well. So there were definitely benefits to coming home, and I think after 7 years on the road, it was time to call it a day for me. It's not for a lot of people. I know there are still people out on the road after a lifetime. So, but I wanted to come home.
So 7 years travel on the same bike.
Yeah.
And you've still got it?
I have, yes.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't possibly part with it. In fact, it's currently having the cylinder head rejuvenated, shall we say. Yes, the port for the exhaust pipe had got oval in shape. And I didn't want to buy a new one because, it's part of my bike, and I don't want it to be like one of these things that you replace every part, so there's not any of the original bike left. So I've had the cylinder head revamped, and so everything fits again. Hopefully it'll be easier to start as well, because I did hurt my back a few years ago. And it was very difficult to kickstart it. So I'm hoping it'll be a lot easier now. But yes.
So no electric starter?
No. Oh gosh, no. Couldn't do that to it. I don't think it would like that at all. Because it's got its own personality, as everyone knows who's had a bike for some while, and all the experiences you have on it, you can't possibly get rid of them.
I have to say it's the same with cars as well. I've still got my 1963 Land Rover, and I don't think I could ever part with that.
No.
It becomes part of one.
Yes. And my brother, who wasn't prone to displays of affection for inanimate objects, he said, "Oh, you've got to bring the bike home. It's part of the family." So after 7 years, he'd heard so much about it, had never met it, and he said, "Oh, you've got to bring it home now. It's part of the family."
That's nice.
It was.
I'll tell you what. Let's think about how would you approach somebody, or how should somebody approach the idea of traveling, whether it be solo or with somebody else, in 2025, somebody who hasn't done it before?
Well, it's easy to say just do it, just go, because I know that it's okay, and I know that people in every country I have been to have been so helpful and friendly and generous. People say, "Oh, you have been brave. Oh, you were brave doing all that travelling," but I don't feel brave at all. Coming back was brave. And I would say to anyone to go, but you don't have to do a massive trip like I did. Just go to the next town, or on your motorbike or your car, or walk a different way to work, or just do something that's a little bit different and open your eyes and see what you can see. And you might notice something different. So it doesn't have to be a massive thing. Just tootle off to, I don't know, the nearest seaside resort or something for a couple of days, or just for a day. Go for a day trip and go from there. But it's a different world now, I think. Well, I'm not sure actually, because you still have to get visas, you still have to have your passport. I tended to just turn up at a border and talk my way through in a lot of the countries I went to, but I didn't go to Africa. I've been to Morocco, but no, I did sort of just wing it. I don't know whether, but then I got used to winging it and it working. And so I winged it even more. So I pushed my luck a couple of times, I'm sure, but was never turned away. Most places I was made welcome. There's places I didn't stay because I didn't feel comfortable. I developed a sixth sense, I think. Have you found that when you've been on the road, you just develop a sixth sense not to stay there and to move on?
Yeah. You do get a sort of, it's like somebody's looking over your shoulder and you don't feel comfortable about being in a place and you just move on to the next.
Definitely.
I get that.
Which is great when you've got your own transport and you could just do that.
Yeah. On the subject of transport, and I mean, we've already spoken about the fact that you have a wonderful Royal Enfield and you still use it today.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a sort of, a hurdle which people have to get past. If you look at social media, you don't really need to have the latest model of vehicle, regardless of what it is, out of the showroom. You can keep it very simple, even today. It doesn't have to be, I don't know if it's the right thing to say on here, but it doesn't have to be the latest BMW GS.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't have to be anything brand new. It can still be a classic. It can be second-hand. It can have lots of miles on it, and it doesn't need to have a huge amount of electronics. I mean, you're the best example. You're saying you're traveling with a small book, a map of one form or another, and just following your nose, basically.
Yes, but then I had the luxury of endless time. I had retired early from my job. I decided that time was more valuable to me than money, and that I would scrape through somehow or other. I wanted to make some memories, and of course I was guided into buying the Royal Enfield. I don't know what I would have bought had I had the choice, but Enrica said to me, "Buy a bike like mine and we'll travel together." So I did, and I'm jolly glad I did, because it is so simple and it's manageable. And I think a lot of people perhaps choose bikes that are too big or too powerful for them. You don't need a big bike. If you're going up a goat track, should you decide to do that sort of riding, if you're going up a goat track in Pakistan, the last thing you want is a big hefty bike that you can't pick up. I can still pick up my Royal Enfield. I have to take all the luggage off and stand at the side of the track and heave it up. But I can do it. So I think that's the essential thing, is choose a bike that you can manage and pick up. Don't choose the flashiest, latest so-called adventure bike. What is an adventure bike? My bike is an adventure bike. I've met people going around on Honda 50s. That's an adventure bike. If you're having an adventure, it doesn't matter what it is, does it?
No, it's just something which gets you from A to B. I mean, look at all the people on Vespas flying around.
I know.
There's loads of them.
They're amazing, aren't they? Yeah, they're so much fun. And easily fixable. There's engineers and mechanics everywhere you go. And if you can't fix it, somebody surely can. But it is essential to have a bike that you like and can manage and pick up and enjoy and not worry about.
That's good.
And I had no electronics, as you say. When I started off, I didn't even have a mobile phone, let alone Google Maps or Booking.com.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with those.
No, not at all. They're especially in an emergency.
Yes.
So what sort of gear do you carry around with you then?
2 inner tubes, spare tubes, a very basic toolkit. I did start carrying all sorts of things when I first started, but then I first started in India. And I didn't need much because on every corner there was a Royal Enfield dealer, or if there wasn't a dealer, there was a mechanic.
Yeah.
So I didn't need anything. And then gradually I did accumulate a few extra tools. But there again, the Enfield was all Imperial. Now it's a mixture, because it's been repaired so many times by different people all over the world. It's got a mixture of Imperial and metric nuts and bolts. So I have to carry a few extra things. But as for spare parts, no, I don't, because being a Royal Enfield, I'm very lucky because there is a business in the UK called Hitchcock's Motorcycles, and they stock Royal Enfield parts for every Royal Enfield bike. And so in Spain, my generator packed up. So I just got on the phone and phoned Hitchcock's, and they sent one. So that was fitted at the side of the road. And I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have a Royal Enfield. Perhaps somebody would enlighten me, but there's always help somewhere.
Yeah.
And spare parts. But that is my safeguard. They are angels.
That's good to know. And what other gear do you take with you? I mean, a tent, cooking stuff. What do you need?
Well, it depends. If in India the accommodation is so reasonable and camping sites so few, and finding a spare hedge or something isn't likely. I do not carry a tent nor cooking equipment because the food is so delicious. I eat street food wherever I go because that's the best, because you can see it cooked in front of you. You know it hasn't been languishing in a hotel kitchen for hours. So I always eat street food. I eat anything. I'm not at all a fussy eater. And so what else do I carry with me? A few clothes, a couple of T-shirts, underwear, change of underwear, jeans, something nice for when I stop anywhere for a few days, a spare pair of shoes, motorcycle boots. I just wear everything I'm travelling in and carry a few extra bits and pieces. Maps. I do carry a phone these days. But regarding equipment, if I am going camping, like I am thinking about coming down through Europe later on this year perhaps, I will carry a tent and I will carry my little camping stove, and my cooking utensils are a mug. I've got a big enamel mug which goes over a fire if I light a fire, or my little stove. So that acts as a saucepan and a cup. and a glass of wine. I like a glass of red wine. And that's it, really. Very, very basic.
This, I think, is important not just for motorcyclists, but for anybody who is planning to travel. Motorcyclists have got it down to a T because you've got no space. You've got nowhere really to put a lot of stuff. And I mean, if I speak from my own experience, I went off to do an event a couple of weeks ago and just sort of throwing my gear. I have pre-packed boxes with stuff in it. And just as an example, I picked up the kitchen box and I suddenly realized how heavy it was. So I thought, right, I'm taking everything out. Got to check it again. And over the years, I've obviously just been putting in extra bits and pieces because it was a good idea at the time and never use it again. So even now, having taken everything out of the box, I put everything back, which I was actually going to use for the weekend. And lo and behold, the box was far lighter. And as it turned out, I didn't even need everything I had in there at the time. So I think it's important for anybody who's thinking of starting that you don't have to have an elaborate kitchen setup. You don't have to have elaborate of anything. It's just nice to be able to keep it as simple as possible.
Absolutely. And whilst you were talking, I was thinking, if I am going camping, it's like on my way down through France or into Spain or anywhere, I do have a bedroom pannier and a kitchen pannier, and I have my one luxury is a really good sleeping bag which folds up to practically nothing. And in later years, I have started using an air bed, which also folds up to practically nothing. So that's my bedroom, and I have an inner sheet inside my sleeping bag. So that goes in one pannier, plus extra bits and pieces. And my kitchen consists of my little stove and a gas canister in case I can't light a fire somewhere. And my food supplies consist of rice, which is compact, and tins of sardines, which are very nutritious, and if I can, some dried peas, and that's a meal. If I can't find anything, or I'm stopped somewhere for the night where there isn't anything to eat. So that's about it.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, and tea, coffee.
You don't get sort of sucked into this, let's say, social media habit of carrying a drone around with you, do you?
No, that's not me at all. But I do admire people who do, and I love looking at other people's footage of their trips. I was looking at somebody this morning actually that had a drone, and I thought, that must be so nice to look back on. I'd love to see where I've been by drone. Some of the roads I've been on would be so interesting to look at. How I got across some of them by drone, that would be great. But it's too late for that now. I
think also it's quite, well, I can say from experience, it's quite time consuming if you're trying to edit videos while you're traveling. And realistically, you have to do it while you're traveling. Otherwise, if you went away for a year and you said, I'll edit everything when I get back home again, you'll never find the time.
No. And apart from that, Mike, when I was doing this 7-year trip, I had no idea anyone would be interested at all. I was having fun. I was with the man I was in love with until we parted, and I decided to carry on my own. But even then I thought, well, I'm enjoying myself. My family wanted to know where I was, but I didn't think for a minute, for instance, I would be talking to somebody like you. And I didn't think I'd be writing a book. I thought, no, I wrote a diary all the time because I thought I don't want to forget any of this. But no, now it's so exciting looking at other people and what they're doing. I do admire them because I don't think I could handle the technology.
Yeah, electronics again. But you have, as you say, you've written a book. You've put down your experiences, etc. How long after you got back did you get the idea of saying, I'm going to actually make something out of this?
Well, it was 7 years, another 7 years, because I didn't think anyone would be interested. How did it start? Oh, I picked up a free magazine. I went to buy some new gloves, and on the counter of the motorcycle accessories shop, was a stack of little magazines called the Rider's Digest, which amused me because, as you know, the Reader's Digest is a popular magazine. And I thought, well, that's funny. And I'd looked at other magazines and they were all comparing one sports bike with another and which one went faster and which one did this and that. And I thought, well, that's not of any interest to me. And they were all of scantily clad women draped over motorbikes, and that didn't appeal to me either. So I picked this one up and I thought, oh, it actually had accounts of people who'd gone on a trip to the seaside and stories, and it had women's experiences on their bikes, and they were riding them, not draped over them. And I thought, oh, this looks appealing. So I waited for another couple of months and read another couple of issues, and then I tentatively contacted the editor, Dave Gurman, and I said, would you be interested in hearing about my story at all? And he said, well, yes, send me a few pages, see what you write like. And that led on to a 4-issue story of the Enfield Diaries, it was called. And then that led on to people asking me to do talks. And that led on to the editor of another magazine called the Overland magazine, who I bumped into at a filling station somewhere on a motorway, having done a talk. And so I started writing articles for him. And then eventually people said, well, why don't you write a book? And I thought they were just being kind. And I thought, no, nobody's going to be interested in a book. And I did. After 7 years, I wrote the book.
Wow.
It really,
just as well you had your diary.
Well, yeah, 16 diaries I kept. And I'd sent them all home. They all got here to some friends of mine. And so they were all intact. And all my photographs I'd sent home as well, because it was pre-digital. There was no such thing as a digital camera then. And so things have moved forward rapidly. So I had to buy film, and I was very careful about what photos I took, because you couldn't take half a dozen of the same thing then. It was take one if it was a special memory, and I only took photographs for the memories. Whereas now you can take pictures of everything, millions of them.
Yes.
So yeah, it was all very, oh really? And here I am talking to you, which is quite an accolade. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you've had such an exciting time traveling, and you've sort of gone like a bit like a beacon. You've gone on your own. Okay, you started off traveling with somebody, but you then continued on your own, and you're still traveling, aren't you? I
am. Yes. I spent nearly 3 weeks in Greece earlier this year, which was most enjoyable. And I hope to do a lot more. I've been to India a few times since I've been back to India. And I'm writing another book at the moment about all the other trips I've done on the same bike, here and there, over to Europe and back to Australia for 6 months on the same bike.
Oh, so we have something new to look forward to.
Finish the first one first. You might not want to read another one.
I will. I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. So you stopped working in the health industry as a nurse, and then you went traveling. What else do you do? What job are you doing at the moment, or have you done in the past since you returned?
Well, when I returned, I helped my friend. I was living on his boat. He had a 36-metre Dutch barge in Bristol Harbour, and I lived on that when I came back. And he had a backpackers hostel, and I helped him run that for a while. And then I had to move off the boat because he turned it into a hotel boat, which is still up and running in Bristol Harbour. And then I returned to do a little bit of nursing. My daughter was manager of surgery in London, in Fleet Street in London, and she asked me if I would like to do some bits and pieces for them. So I did that, and by that time I was earning my pension. My pension was rolling in, so that was quite useful. And since then I've done all sorts of jobs. I do talks. Not that I don't ask much money for that. I've book sales. No, I'm living on my pension basically, and very happy.
Perfect, almost, I would have thought. Nice to be able to get out and about though still. And, you know, I look at it from the point of view that there is still so much to see and so much to do and so many new people to meet.
Yes.
That I think something pretty dramatic sort of happened to stop me, certainly, and also you, I guess, from, travelling and then staying at home.
Oh yes. I love my home and I love where I live, but I'm very happy to go elsewhere for any trip. I've been away 4 times already this year. I had a long weekend in Barcelona, and then I went skiing with the family, and then to Greece, and then a road trip with my elder daughter to Albania. So it's very hard to stay still. Once you've got that itch, it won't leave you alone.
Yeah.
I bet you find the same.
Very much so. You know, sitting at a desk for too long, and then it's just got to get out, got to do something, go somewhere.
Yes.
Very much so. You said you were going to travel through Europe again later this year.
I'm thinking about it. Yes, I've got friends in France, and I've got a friend in Germany who keeps inviting me over, who doesn't live far from you. I'm not sure. Yeah, somewhere near you. So I'm thinking about doing that later in the year, but I'd love to go back to India. But we'll have to wait and see.
If you went back to India now, where would you be going? Would you be going back to look at things you've seen before to see how they've developed, or are you going to go exploring, trying to find new stuff?
Well, it would depend. I have got contacts within the Royal Enfield company now, and I have been invited over there the last 2 years to do talks in India at the Motorverse extravaganza. So no other way of putting it. It's an absolutely massive festival of motorcycling and other things. So I've been there twice, maybe 3 times now. So that's where I would start, and that's in Goa. I like Tamil Nadu, and that's a state I really like, and all around there, perhaps a bit further north. I just love India. I feel totally at home in India.
And it's huge as well.
Yes.
I think it's, based on its size and population, it's also very diverse.
Yes. And perhaps a bit further north. I haven't explored the northeast of India very much. The northwest I have, but not the northeast. Maybe that would be a place to explore next time. We'll see.
If you're going to say of the places you've travelled to, I mean, it's quite obvious that India is at the top of the list, probably. Which is the other country which left the biggest impression with you?
Australia. I love contrasts, and India is very difficult to be on your own anywhere because it is a highly populated country. Very, very busy. But Australia, you can go a few miles out of town and be completely on your own for as long as you want, which is what I did when I went to Australia. I spent some time in the outback on my own, sorting things out in my head, and I didn't see anybody really to talk to for quite a long time. And it's surprising how you can just not see anyone. So I like the two places. Australia is, I love wild camping. I love just thinking, oh, there's a tree, I'll go and camp over there off a track, and just, you don't even need a tent. In some of the places I'd been to, it hadn't rained for 3 years, so why put a tent up? Just park the bike by a tree somewhere. Off a track, out of sight. I always made sure I was out of sight, and just sleep under the stars. Go to sleep when it gets dark. Make a brew, light a fire. Well, if you're allowed.
Yeah.
And then get up in the morning when the dawn comes up, and look at the birds, and set off again.
I think that's one thing about Australia, is, as you say, it's pretty much empty. Certainly, if you get away from the coast.
Yes, definitely. Yes, it is. But there is the wildlife to contend with, of course. You have to bear in mind that everything in Australia wants to kill you.
Precisely. Everything in Australia is trying to get you, which I think you're very brave to be sort of sleeping out under the stars without even a tent.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit naive when it comes to things like that. I think, well, I've been all right so far, and I got a bit blasé. But I did have an incident with a spider. I don't know whether you've got that far in the book yet. But,
no, not yet.
Well, I would travel with a jerry can full of water lashed to one side of the crash bar and a jerry can of fuel lashed to the other side. And it was my habit to light a fire at night, make a brew, cook my rice and eat my sardines, and in the morning light the fire again and make a cup of tea and set off. And this particular morning, I started to siphon water out of my water jerry can, and I felt something else come into my mouth other than the water, and whatever it was bit me on the back of my tongue and stung me. And it started to swell and it started to throb and tingle. I spat it out, whatever it was, and I watched a little pinky brown spider walk away. And I thought, well, okay, I'm in Australia, I've been bitten on the tongue by a spider. What's the worst that can happen? So, thanks to being a nurse, I was able to think, right, well, it might block my airway. What's the thing to do? I know, I'll get my knife. So I got my knife ready to do a tracheotomy should it be necessary. And to just make an incision in my throat and stick a tube down. I thought, well, that might save my life. It's better than choking to death. And then I thought, well, it might be poisonous. So then I thought, I better write down what's happened in case I ever found. So my daughters know what happened to me. And so that's what I did. I got my diary and I wrote a piece in my diary about what had happened and not to worry. I was okay about it all. I'd had a great life. I'd had lots of fun and lots of adventure and lots of love. And that was it. Anyway, as you can hear, I lived to tell the tale. The swelling went down. The tingling stopped. I didn't have to cut my throat, and I just rode off. Finished my tea, and rode off. But I know. It was a funny moment. It was quite strange because I thought, well, if that's it. I mean, bearing in mind I'm the age I am, I'm quite old now, and I was thinking I was about 56, something like that, 57, when that happened. And I thought, well, I can't complain. I've had a great career. I've had a lovely family. I've had a happy marriage until that came to an end. What more do I want? So I reasoned with myself and I thought, okay. And I was quite peaceful about it.
Fortunately, things have turned out the way they have, and you're alive and kicking, and you're with us today.
Very much so.
Right, well, you've actually touched on a topic there which I'm very keen to discuss, and that is, what first aid kit do you carry around with you? What do you have on board?
Well, it's got less and less the further I go. I am blessed with very good health, thank you, parents. I carry some sterile dressings. I wear an elasticated belt so that should I come across anyone with a serious injury, I hope I can use that as a tourniquet because it will do up really tight. Mm-hmm. Usual painkillers, an eye patch in case something happens, some drops. Some broad-spectrum antibiotics, which you can buy in India over the counter. You don't need a prescription. I think very, very basic first aid stuff. Plasters, elasticated plasters to stop bleeding. That is my main concern is bleeding. So I do make sure I can save somebody else. Aspirin, in case somebody has a stroke or a heart attack. I always carry aspirin, which could save their lives, or my own. But no, very basic.
But I think the important thing there is that I mean, okay, you've got the training background to go with this, but the important thing is that it's not an off-the-shelf first aid kit, which you find in most motor vehicles or on motorcycles. It's far more in-depth. And okay, as you said yourself, it's got less and less over the years, but that's probably whittled down based upon experience and your own training. But I think it's important to say that even if you're going away for a long weekend, don't just assume you're never going to need a first aid kit. I think it's important to have that with you all the time.
Yes. I mean, I have a handbag for going around, and that's always got paracetamol, aspirin, and some plasters. And but I've got plasters, and it's amazing how often people need those things. But another thing is that most countries, you can buy these things anyway. Should you wake up with an awful headache or diarrhea or something like that. I mean, in India, I had amoebic dysentery last time I was there. That was fun. But I got. There, you don't have to wait for weeks for an appointment to see the doctor. You just go into a medical shop and ask and say, can you find out what's wrong with me? You leave a sample, that within hours they'll ring you back and say, yes, you need to buy this antibiotic or that antibiotic. And you just go to the nearest pharmacy and buy it. Simple as that. So yeah, that sorts out diarrhea, which is very common in India to get diarrhea.
Yes, there are plenty of stories of that going around.
Oh, yes, it's part of the course.
Yeah, but then that's where you said that eating street food is actually quite a wise choice.
Yes.
Because it's fresh and you can see it happening.
Yes, it's cooked in front of you and you eat it straight out of the wok or the pan or whatever it's being cooked in. And very delicious it is too. Yes,
I think that's part of the fun of travelling, and that's the cuisine one comes across regardless of where you are in the world. As long as you go in with open eyes, you're in for a surprise one way or another.
Oh, yes.
Very pleasant one.
Yes. But then I am blessed with having parents who presented me with lots of varieties of food. Both my parents have lived through 2 world wars, and my mother was an excellent cook of all sorts of things that you could get back in the 50s, post-war, things that you can't buy now. And she used to make delicious meals out of nothing. And so I've never been a fussy eater.
Do you cook a lot then now?
Well, I do now. That came as a shock. That was one of the things when I came back. Good gracious, I had to learn how to cook again. I'd had 7 years of not cooking because I just didn't carry anything with me for cooking then. Travelling through Asia, you wouldn't dream of cooking anything. So, yes, I had to learn how to cook again. But now I quite enjoy cooking, but I've spent a long time not really liking it and thinking, I wish I could just go to the nearest street stall and get something interesting. But no, I quite like it now. But it did take it. That was one of the biggest things. And washing up on a boat with no heating. and two winters on a boat with no heating was interesting, and my water would freeze in the kettle. And things like that. Yes, it soon made me acclimatised to being back in the UK after 3-4 years in Asia.
Yeah.
Well, no, more than that, actually, yeah. So, yes, it was a rude shock coming home.
So, what's next on your agenda? Other than the bit of travelling which is coming up, but what else have you got going on?
Well, at the moment I'm drawing maps to go in the book. You may notice in the first one that there's all hand-drawn maps in it. Those are what I do. I play about with drawing maps of the route I have taken through various places. So I'm playing about with that at the moment. And then I've got to choose photographs, and then I've got to think about a front cover, and I've got the title. So that's going to take me a while. I'm speaking at the Adventure Bike Rider Festival, so I've got to plan that. So yes, it's going to be a summer of going to festivals and getting my book finished. And then maybe later on in the year, I love travelling in September and October. They're lovely months, I think. The summer the madness of summer stops and everything takes a deep sigh. And And I quite enjoy that, going down through France and Spain and maybe venture into Germany. So we'll see. And maybe I'll be lucky enough to go to India again this November.
Busy. You're a very busy person.
Well, yes, and I'm in lots of groups here in Bristol, and I've got family. My elder daughter lives in Oxfordshire. My younger daughter lives in London, so I'm visiting them, and I've got friends here in Bristol. So yes, life is good. I'm very, very happy.
I'll tell you what, if I don't get over to the UK beforehand, whenever you come out this way to Germany, then we're going to have to meet up and sit down together.
Oh, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. I'll let you know if I'm coming over. But I'm not known for my planning, Mike.
Will you be flying or riding?
Oh, riding.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, you may know, on the front cover of the book, it's got 7 years, 20 countries, no plan, which is typical of me. I'm not a big planner.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, I'll tell you what, let's draw today to a close. Thank you so much for the talking to me.
I've enjoyed it.
Wonderful
Thank
listening
you.
to your stories. And I shall continue reading your book when we finished here. Mm-hmm. And I will be looking forward to your next publication.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Jacqui. You take good care of yourself.
I will.
And I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
All right, then. Thanks ever so much, Mike. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to the At Overland Europe podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and download our app for more adventures and exclusive content. Remember, you can find our guest social media and websites linked in the description below. Until next time, safe travels.